Live. Welcome to West Virginia Uncommon Place. Today I have a special guest, Carl Renman. So, Carl, please tell my audience about yourself and tell them about your podcast and tell them how we got started talking.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So again, my name is Carl Renman. I am actually from the Utah area, about an hour from Salt Lake. Most all my life, I have been disabled. However, I have found that a lot of people with disabilities voices are not heard. There's a lot of people out there that will treat people with disabilities that will treat people with disabilities as kind of outsiders. So I've created a podcast called Living Life with a Disability. And what it does, it brings guests from all walks of life, and they talk about how to overcome challenges, how to overcome obstacles. It's not just about overcoming disabilities, it's about overcoming obstacles.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this real quick. What is your podcast on? What is your podcast? Where can they hear it?
Yeah. So my so my podcast is on Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google. So for example, if you have Spotify, you can just type in life with living with a disability. Again, it's living with no. Sorry. Let me go back. It's living life with a disability, living life with a disability. And if you go to Spotify or if you go to Apple, you'll be able to find it. Again, it's living life with a disability.
Okay, so let's get into some more deeper things. Carl, you have another gift about you that a lot of people don't know about because you're just getting into the whole podcast thing. And yesterday I was a guest on your show, which is different from
Yeah.
you. I was That was actually my first ever podcast. Once being a guest, and you have a hidden talent. Can we know
I
about
do.
that talent you have?
Yeah, I'm actually a singer. I've been performing on stage since age 3. Um, a sample of my voice is I'm gonna be doing a Christmas tune since it's almost Christmas time. So here we go. Silent night, holy night, all is calm and all is bright. Round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace.
And that's amazing that you can sing like that. So here's one thing that I want to do real quick. Um, it's really awesome to have you on the podcast. So we're gonna get personal with you. What are some hobbies that you're into? What do you do when you get off from work?
One of the things I do is I recently just joined the gym,
Okay.
Planet Fitness, and so I am now going to be working out three times a week.
Okay. So do you play video
Um,
games? Do you do any art or anything?
I'm not in like video games, and I don't watch too much TV, but I do listen to a lot of music.
So, what's your favorite artist right now?
Oh, I would have to say Michael Bublé and Josh Groban.
Okay, so you like people that have octaves to their voice that can actually sing. You like what we call real singers. So you like
Yeah.
singers.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay. So with your podcast, what is the next big thing you're going to be doing on your podcast?
My next big thing I'm going to be doing is I'm actually having a guest on my show this Thursday, and he's going to be coming to talk about how to have a successful marriage. He's written a book, and I hope you guys can come. The I am going to be recording him at 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, and I'm going to have the and I am going to have the podcast on my show.
Okay. So that sounds like you got something interesting going on. So after him, what's your next podcast after that? Because we always want to see what's going on with people. What's the next big thing after him?
Uh, that hasn't been planned yet. However, I'm always well, I'm always looking for guests. Guests are always welcome. So if you have a challenge or a disability, I would love to see you on my show. And in order to get a hold of me, please go to Facebook, Carl Renman. That's CarlRenneman, or you guys can email apcarl. That's A for Apple, P for Paul, CARL 2019 at gmail.com.
Okay, that was cool. Thank you for plugging everything that you got going on. That way, the audience knows how to get in touch with you. And like I always tell this to people, I'm very proud of what you're doing, even though we just met each other. The funny story is, I joined a podcast group called Potted or something like that, and I was looking at guests, and your name was the first name I came across. So I clicked on your information, and I always read over stuff before I throw myself out there because I was like, I've never been a guest on a show. And I was like, this guy has an interesting podcast. Let me see if I can get on his podcast. And from there, it was magic. We did a podcast for a podcast, which I will release yours at a later date because, like I told you, how I've got so many podcasts going on. And I
Yeah,
hope
yeah,
that I hope that you start building up a schedule for your podcast too, because it seems like you got your energetic and you got all the tools for it. I mean, man, you had a boom and everything. You got the whole setup for your podcast.
yeah.
Um, so
Actually, I have enough. Like you said last night, I have enough equipment basically to run the world. I have I have enough to. It's like a studio in here.
yeah,
So
you basically have a studio. So my challenge to you is this: what would you tell someone that has disabilities that wants to do a podcast that might be not say I don't want to use the word scared, but maybe apprehensive to do a podcast? What would you tell someone with disabilities? What would you tell them to do?
yeah. Oh, like if you guys just want to get your voice out there, and if you just want to make an impact, or just or you have a message that you want to share, I encourage you guys to make a podcast. Go to Facebook, look up podcasts in groups, or podcast or podcast guests. The thing is, if you guys go to Facebook opportunities for podcasters, that I mean, the groups are unlimited. And if you guys want to get your message out there, go ahead. But use Facebook as the source. because it'll bring you so many people and connect you in so many ways.
Right, because you're all the way out there in Utah, and I'm all the way in West Virginia. Well, North Carolina this weekend, because or for this week for work. So that's a lot of distance between us. So with that being said, whenever somebody is on my podcast, I have to ask them something. You have to tell us, and remember, we've already done this on your podcast,
Mhm.
so it needs to be something different. You have to tell us a hidden talent or a secret that no one knows about you.
Mm. Okay. All right. Got one.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
actually have Tourette's. I actually have Tourette's.
Okay.
And as well, and another thing is, when it comes to singing, I sing by ear. I can't read sheet music. I can't read um, notes on a page. What I do is when I record and sing a song, I listen to the song and then I'm able to sing it by ear.
Okay.
So
That's a little different. And that's awesome that you can do that. So going along with you, you're doing this podcast. Um, how do you take criticism?
well, if someone says I can't do something, that makes me want to do it even more because I want to prove that person wrong.
Okay, because like,
If somebody, uh, sorry about that.
I know what I was gonna say is like a lot of people. I got criticism, because sometimes my mic's not right or it sounds too loud. So I got so hyper conscious of this that I listen to my podcast on a Bluetooth speaker, a set of headphones, on a computer, on a tablet, in a car, on a shower speaker,
Yeah,
just so I can hear it. So once I did that, that's the only part of criticism that I took, and I like your method and your way that that you deal with criticism. Because the cool thing about this whole podcast atmosphere, you may get a little negativity I've seen, but overall it's positive. Everybody has just a good attitude when it comes to, hey, let's do this, let's do that together, and they just go from there.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I have also found that when you listen to your podcast, you see errors that you need to that, that you can correct. Like last night when we were recording, um, you were talking, and even though the interview went well, I wasn't listening as much as I could have, and so I think that's another key I need to bring is to listen to my guests, not just talk.
Okay. Well, that's a learning
So
experience right there. A lesson learned is a lesson taught later, right?
yeah.
Right. So it works out there. Um, and with this whole big podcast movement, what is the podcast that you actually listen to? Whose podcast do you listen to?
Right now, I don't really have time because my schedule is so booked. Um, that's one of the things I need to start doing is listening to other podcasts.
Okay, so that
So
was a good answer there. Now, can you tell our guests what kind of social media are you a part of? You're part of Facebook. What else?
I am I am I am part of Facebook. I am part of Twitter, Instagram.
Okay,
I also am part of. I'm also part of Star Maker and Sunil. So yeah,
so you're everywhere then. Okay,
yes
well,
sir.
once again, like I tell everybody, at the very end of our podcast, what I normally like to do, I like to have you give a shout out, say thank you to somebody that helped you along the way. Who was somebody that encouraged you, or people
Oh, yeah.
that encouraged you to do this podcast?
Yeah, I would like to give a shout out to my house manager, who basically urged, sorry, oh, um, who basically urged me to actually do this podcast. So yeah,
Okay. So you had a little backing. That's good.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, and
yeah,
once again, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on West Virginia Commonplace. Your podcast, just like everybody else's, has a message to it. And the message that I want to say that could be derived from this is that you can overcome anything. You can be strong and you can be proud of who you are. No stigma, because that's the problem with our culture. Too many people have a stigma for uh, disabilities, stigma because of race, this stigma because of just anything. If we could erase these stigmas, we could find great people just like you. And
yes, sir.
it takes a great person like you to step out of your comfort zone, which I've been seeing a lot of in these podcasts. Everybody steps out their comfort zone to try to help somebody else out. So that's one of those things where you want to give yourself a pat on the shoulder, and you want to smile and be real tough about it, because you're setting a precedent. You're doing something that nobody else is doing. You understand?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, once again, I want to tell you thank you. And I'm glad that you were able to be part of West Virginia Uncommon Place. Time for us to sign off. You got any last words?
Nope, that was it.
All right.